The Real George Orwell, Loving, by Jonathan Holloway, with Joseph Milson as Eric Blair.
Unfairness and the English class system are high on the list of hatreds that propel me. But what I wanted most, truly, was to be loved and desired. Eileen, my wife, she was the only person I could imagine being constantly close to. Sadly, I do not believe Eileen ever really understood throughout our time together in Spain, and during the war, just how much I thought of her opinion, and how much influence her intelligence had upon me. I've already told you about our time fighting Franco and hiding out from Stalin's agents in Morocco, and how badly affected we both were by our experiences. But what I have not explained is the great arc of our relationship. I haven't shown you how she suffered me with such elegance, right from the beginning.
Good night, Lydia. Good night, Eileen. See you tomorrow. Don't be late. It's beautiful in the lecture this time. Don't worry. Night.
I hung around in the hope you might let me walk you to the bus stop.
Ooh. Chivalry?
Self-interest.
Well, let's go then. Do you prefer Eric Blair or George Orwell?
I prefer George, but everyone calls me Eric. What's your second name?
O'Shaughnessy.
Nice. And you're from South Shields?
Yes.
Family?
Mother, father, and a grown-up brother. He wouldn't approve of you.
Ah.
He's a surgeon and an instinctive fascist.
I'd like to meet him.
No, you wouldn't. What do you think of Lydia?
Nice enough.
I think she's very attractive. And that Russian accent is a knockout.
Would you like a cigarette?
I'm afraid yours are a bit strong for me. Perhaps they're a bit strong for you, too. I heard about your Down and Out book. That sounds interesting.
That's the kind of thing I'm passionate about.
Social issues.
If you like. That Lydia gave me a funny look.
Yes. She's suspicious of you.
Then she's a good judge of character.
She said you looked moth-eaten and prematurely aged.
Cruel. Well, Rosalind said you flunked Oxford, only managed a second.
That's cruel, too.
The Oxford thing puts you up in my estimation. Bloody place. Are you going to let me, are you going to let me kiss you?
Perhaps. Tomorrow night.
Do we have a tomorrow night, do you think?
If you like.
How old are you?
28. How old are you?
33 in June.
So, what's next?
Rosalind, I suppose, if nothing better comes along.
You know I didn't mean that.
Another book. A factual novel, I suppose you'd call it. Burmese Days, out next month.
What's it about?
The 5 years I wasted variously slaughtering wildlife, hanging bemused peasants, and watching pink British colonial snobs broiling in the sun.
I don't understand.
5 years in the colonial police.
Not the career I'd expect for a socialist writer.
Why do you imagine I became one?
Do you have any more great political acts on your dance card?
There's going to be a war in Spain.
Oh.
Churchill will sell British weapons to the fascists. I think next year I shall go there as part of the International Anti-Fascist Volunteer Force.
That sounds dangerous.
Probably is. Marry me?
Don't be ridiculous. You can have a kiss, though.
Can I touch you?
Where?
There?
No.
Right.
But tomorrow, perhaps.
Tomorrow. There's a lot to look forward to.
Night.
Night.
Tomorrow, then.
Yes.
Night.
Good.
So, does it feel good to be back home in Wallington?
It's wonderful, yes. After all, it doesn't get much more English than this, does it? The countryside and the working people. Eileen and I were married in the village church, you know.
Oh. But surely it's a bit tame after all your adventures.
Wonderfully tame.
I feel like I'm in danger of living my whole life without experiencing anything really exciting.
I think Hitler might have different ideas about that.
Oh, dear. I suppose he might.
Mind you, I saw some wonderful things in Spain that Franco and Hitler won't ever erase.
Oh.
I saw freedom.
Well, Mr. Orwell.
Eric.
Really?
Yes, please. After all, we're friends now.
Well, yes. Eric.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a little more about Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean to say, you saw lots of jolly distressing things. Has it been difficult for you both to adjust since you got back to England? And it's really the personal legacy I want to know about. What it gave you as a writer.
Oh, it's really very impressive you chose that word in this context.
Oh, good. Yes. I mean, is it? What did I say?
You called me a writer. You didn't ask me how my nerves had been affected. You didn't ask me how watching the left mired in an internecine conflict that resulted in the murder of many good, dedicated men and opened the door to fascism across Europe affected me as a husband, perhaps someday as a father, perhaps even as a human being. No, you asked me what it did to me as a writer. That shows you understand the integrity of my writer's voice, founded in direct observation, a dogged commitment to describing injustices that are self-evident once they're pointed out to you. That is the essence of what I must do.
Really?
In actual fact, I think I'm gestating a book in which I shall expose the Soviet myth in a manner that can be understood by everyone.
Oh, how are you going to do that?
Haven't decided yet. Perhaps some sort of allegory might be in order.
Oh.
I've got a notion of something to do with animals. I'm thinking of setting it in a farm up the road from here, Manor Farm.
Intriguing.
A kind of parable that will wake people up to the dangers of totalitarianism. Perhaps the animals will take over the farm.
I want to read it already.
You're a very clever young lady. Would you like another of our homemade bran biscuits?
There's only one left.
My dear, we live in the cottage attached to the shop my wife Eileen runs. We sell our own produce. She's barely 12 feet away from us right now. There we are.
Oh. I'm surprised you still smoke.
Why?
Your throat. The wound you got in Spain.
Well, smoking doesn't make any difference.
Those smell unusual.
I roll my own. It's French black tobacco. I developed a taste for it.
Of course. The life of a plongeur. I think you are very noble.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Well, you're certainly a man, well, of the people.
I try.
Oh, golly. I don't want to sound too gushing, but I just have to say I was absolutely thrilled with the road to Wigan Pier. It blew my socks off. The landlady, so fat she couldn't move. Yes. The poor men selling newspaper subscriptions, away from their homes, living off bacon fat.
I think you're a very kind person, Dorothy. Empathy. You have it.
There's just one more thing, though. About the pen name, sort of thing.
Go on.
Well, why, really?
Well, if my writing was going to include controversial subjects, then I didn't want to make it too easy to track me down.
I see.
It's a shock to find yourself on Stalin's death list, you know.
Heavens above!
And then I also wanted something that smelled of old Albion. George Orwell did the job. All those rounded sounds, all those O's.
I was wondering if you feel you hide behind Mr. Orwell.
What?
In the Freudian sense.
Huh?
Does Orwell mask your own failings? Is he a way of overcoming elements of your past that cause neurosis? Or behaviours you find frightening and out of control, that perhaps contradict what you feel you really stand for?
Such big questions, eh?
Oh, I hope I haven't...
Did you bring a coat?
Just a cardigan. Do you think I might be able to come back?
Certainly. I have the telephone number for your porter's lodge in Hall. I'll give you a ring.
Oh, but...
It's been a pleasure, Miss Malone.
Well, goodbye, then.
Goodbye.
Make sure you mark the eggs with a pencil. We need to know how old they are. I had a complaint today. We'd sold some that were black inside.
I hate this job.
We'll soon have been in Wallington for 5 years. You know, I'm sure it's me, Eric.
What is?
Oh, darling, don't make me say it.
Really doesn't matter, Eileen. Besides, this is no time to bring a child into the world. This place might be bombed flat by the end of the summer. And you know how your nerves have been since we got back. But before that, in fact, before we left Spain, I don't believe we ought really to put you through it.
If I can't have a baby of my own, I'd like us to consider adopting someone else's. Some poor little mite who needs to be loved. Just like I need to love him or her.
Really?
What do you think?
I don't know what I think.
At least it's not an outright no.
Thank you for coming out to visit me, Lydia Vitalyevna Gibertovich-Jackson. You've got a beautifully impressive name. I do like the sound of it.
To be truthful, Eric, I don't know why I came.
I take it as a great compliment.
We are not having an affair, Eric.
Aren't we?
And I don't want you to be putting your hand down my blouse, like you tried to do when I visited you at that sanatorium in Kent. Barely a year after you married poor Eileen.
Understood.
Who's that on the bicycle?
No idea.
Supposing we are seen and someone tells Eileen. I couldn't bear it. And my husband.
It's just nice to see you.
And I don't want you trying to kiss me either.
Of course, of course.
Well, tell me what you're up to. You know I'm interested in your work.
I'm thinking about a prophetic novel. There will be 2 principal characters. I'm one of them, sort of thing. It's a prediction floated on a doomed love story.
So it's you and the girl.
Yes.
What's she like?
Very sexy, but in an heroic way. Her sexual... I was going to say promiscuity, but that's not right. Her, she makes love as an act of defiance.
Oh, dear. I don't think I want to hear about that anymore.
I've never wanted to take advantage of you.
Hasn't stopped you trying.
I know you would.
No, I wouldn't.
I realise yellow tombstone teeth and bad breath aren't that attractive.
Don't make me out to be shallow.
Why would you agree to come down here if you didn't want me? Really want me? Why would you betray Eileen like this?
I should go. This wasn't a good idea.
At the TB, I need to push back death. And part of that means seeing myself reflected in women's eyes.
I ought not to have come. I don't know why I did. Eileen is beautiful and clever. You're very lucky.
You're not here as my conscience.
Oh, then for God's sake, get off the subject of sex. Tell me something about the animal book.
I've decided my point of departure shall be a statement from Marx's economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844, in which he says, the worker no longer feels himself anything but an animal. What is animal becomes human, and what is human becomes animal.
Go on.
I'm going to shine a searchlight on Stalin's cruelty and the crimes of Soviet communism.
Oh, God in heaven, it's that bicycle again. That is not an accident, Eric. We've been rumbled.
Hello, Lydia.
Eileen!
Do you mind if I come in?
Oh, of course not. How nice. How absolutely nice.
I feel as if we don't see nearly enough of each other these days.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
I want to talk to you, and I'm not sure you'll want to hear what I have to say.
Do you? Oh, dear.
What do you mean, oh dear?
Oh, it was just, an exclamation. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, no, of course not. I seem to be seeing ghosts around every corner.
Ghosts?
Ghosts of Eric's past, his relationships. His affairs, too, apparently.
Oh.
That's why I need to talk to you, Lydia.
Oh, God. Is it?
Are you going to sit down?
If you want me to.
Well, it's your house. Do what you like.
Oh.
Now then. His affair. What do you know about it? Don't pretend. I know what's going on.
Do you? Oh, dear. Well, what can I say? I'm so terribly sorry.
There's no need to apologise. It's not as if it's your fault.
Isn't it?
Of course not. It's that ridiculous Brenda Salkeld. Gym mistress from St. Felix's Girls' Grammar School.
Oh, really? Her? I mean, how terrible.
Why do clever men get obsessed with stupid women? I've seen a photo of her with her silly grin and wrinkled dance tights, posing like a sixth-rate ballerina.
But how do you know?
Well, Eric has always gone on about her. And I know they exchange letters. I don't know what to do.
Well, perhaps it's just something he... Oh, I don't know. Something he needs in some way. And it will vanish as quickly as it came.
I know women can be silly over Eric. I imagine they want to have sex with him just to cheer him up. Well, do you think that's true?
I don't know. Perhaps.
As a rule, Eric seems not to understand the idea of love-making.
Why is that? If you don't mind me asking.
No, of course not. Well, he's very to the point. I wouldn't mind so much if we had a baby out of it, but we haven't. And it doesn't look like we shall. And there's not much fun in it for me, as you might say.
I see.
What do you make of Eric?
You remember when Rosalind invited him to her party in 35?
Yes. I suppose you might say it's all Rosalind's fault.
Well, I've never mentioned it, but we were a bit appalled when you and him got so close so quickly.
Why?
Rosalind and I felt that he was seedy. But you know, after the party, he told Rosalind that you were the sort of girl he'd like to marry.
Yes. Yes, I thought we were like swans, partnered for life.
I think you are. I believe you should treasure that. I told him off, you know.
When? What for?
For deciding to abandon his new young wife and run off to Spain, chasing moonshine.
Well, thank you. But it didn't make much difference. You know, he carries much worse scars from Spain than the bullet hole in his neck. And so do I, for that matter. one of ours.
If it wasn't, someone would be shooting at it.
Poor old London. Looks so bloody bashed about.
You all right?
You know, darling, it's not even 8 weeks since Lawrence died at Dunkirk.
Yes, it's a shame.
You despise my brother's politics.
Yes, well...
It would help if I knew you understood. I don't like this flat.
I know, it's too pokey. But it's better than being with your family in Greenwich.
Have you written to that woman yet?
Which woman?
You know perfectly well who I'm talking about.
Do you mean Brenda?
Of course.
No, I haven't.
Why not?
Because I am not carrying on with her behind your back. And even if I was, I wouldn't, go behind your back. It would all be out in the open.
Oh.
If such a thing happened, I would expect you to understand it's you I love, and time spent with the likes of Brenda would be an entirely different matter, and something you ought not to be concerned about.
What would you think if I said that to you?
Not so very different, Eileen. What about you and Georges Kopp? He was so kind in Spain, wasn't he?
Don't be a pig. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. You're the only one who's allowed to have flexible morals.
Look, I want to speak to you about something that actually matters.
Well, your juvenile chasing after women actually matters to me.
Oh, please listen to me. There are some things that have made us both vulnerable.
Are you talking about Spain? What's happened?
I'm not talking directly about Spain. Although I'm sure Churchill will prosecute this war with all the vigour it needs, there is a powerful element in the British establishment that still instinctively supports Hitler. And while they're keeping their heads down, you can be sure they're working away discrediting the likes of us and just waiting their moment to crawl out and sound off about making peace with the Nazis.
Perhaps you ought to keep your opinions to yourself for a while.
Well, absolutely. I'm determined to get a job at the BBC. I expect I'll be able to broadcast to the Far East. After all, that's what I know about. It'll all be about supporting the war effort. Even though my lungs will keep me out of the army, there is a way I can serve. Propagandize the idea we are true patriots and at the same time contribute to the building of a people's militia which could fight a partisan war to deal with fascism and the class system in one go.
What on earth are you talking about?
I'm going to join the local defence volunteers.
What, the Dad's army?
Absolutely.
I thought you were going to France to be a spy.
That's all fallen through. Hello?
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 Who is it?
Shush.
George.
Shush.
With whom am I speaking?
This is George Orwell here.
This is Detective Summerfield of the Vice Squad. I took away those dirty Henry Miller books you imported.
Oh, yes.
In actual fact, I'm telephoning to make sure you're all right.
I'm fine. What made you think I might not be?
Have you heard about Leon Trotsky?
Trotsky? I know his work intimately.
Are you aware Trotsky is dead?
What?
2 days ago, on the 20th of August, Trotsky was killed in his home in Mexico by a madman called Raymond Mercader, who attacked him with an ice axe. Are you there, Mr. Orwell?
Yes, I'm still here, Summerfield.
You have made a lot of enemies, Mr. Orwell. I think you need to be very careful.
Ought I to be thanking you?
That's your business. Call me an admirer. Goodbye.
Right.
Darling, you've gone white.
Trotsky is dead.
Oh, good heavens.
Stalin has to be discredited. Stalin and Trotsky. Pigs. Pigs who take over the farm. Manor Farm. Russia. The leader and his commissar, who then becomes an inconvenience and gets an ice axe through his skull. Before we get to the mortar drill, I want to draw your attention to 2 pamphlets I have written up and duplicated at my own expense. I would welcome a contribution from each of you to the printing costs and have left a tin by the hall door.
Fat chance, George.
Yes. Now, my first pamphlet is entitled Don't Let Colonel Blimp Ruin the Home Guard.
Hoorah!
Yes. Now, the second pamphlet is all about practical warfare, full of tips I picked up during the Spanish Civil War. For example, on the first page you'll find bombs are easier to throw downstairs than up, And note the behaviour of bullets is different in a town from in open country. They nearly always ricochet and have a habit of coming round corners.
Can't we just get on and practice shooting things on?
All right. Stop. Stand back now. Settle down, please. Right. Now, what you're looking at is the 2-inch mortar, an ordnance I've found myself on the business end of more than once.
Can we shoot it?
With such a short barrel, the normal firing method, where the bomb is dropped down the tube and a pin in the base of the barrel strikes the detonator in the tail of the bomb, will not work. So the firing pin is replaced with a trigger. Here.
Can we shoot it? Go on! Hurry up!
The firer only has to line up in the direction of the target, and then he can discharge any number of bombs to devastating effect.
Are we going to shoot it?
Given the close proximity of numerous domestic dwellings, I think not. But we will rehearse the drill. Smith, I want you to come over here. That's it, come over here. Now, you steady the equipment from the right side, while you, Bailey, you hold the projectile in the mouth of the barrel. Just don't let go quite yet. It's a devil to fish the thing out.
Oi, Reg, you drop that shell, it'll take out the rubber stemmies, mate.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if we were really going to do this, he would then release the shell into the barrel, move around to the rear to sight the target, and when ready, depress the trigger. I'm going to let you rehearse all of that. So the first thing is just to let the shell slide gently into the barrel. That's it. Go on. Yep. Yes.
Look what you've done!
Yes.
That's my uncle's garage!
Right. Well, I think perhaps this isn't the SBML 2-inch mortar. Can anyone tell me how I know that? Eileen.
Eric. What's the matter?
Eileen.
Yes, I'm here.
Eileen.
It's me, darling. Open your eyes, Eric.
I was back in Spain. We were in Guernica.
You and I?
Yes.
I don't know what you mean.
Except I don't think it was Spain. I got shot in the neck again.
Eric? You were shot in the trenches near Seattle, not in Guernica. It's 1944. You're here. You're in London.
You're right. It wasn't Guernica. It was King's Cross.
Poor darling. It was a dream. Things get mixed up in dreams. Come on, lie down.
It's no good. I won't sleep now. I can't go back to sleep once I'm woken.
A cup of tea.
Please. You know we can't stay in London.
Of course we can't. I've been saying that, and you haven't listened to me. We were lucky when we were bombed out of Mortimer Crescent. We have to get back up to County Durham. So we're there when the Newcastle adoption people say we can have our baby.
All right, if it makes you feel safer.
And of course, I have to be up there for my hysterectomy.
I keep forgetting. How are you?
The pain comes and goes. Routine stuff. It vindicates you. On the business of us not having a family, poor darling.
Eileen.
I didn't mean that in a nasty way.
Listen. I'm sorry, but if Animal Farm doesn't get a publisher, then we'll have to come back to London, at least until I can find someone to get the book out.
You knew Galance wouldn't publish it. Why Why did you waste time on him?
I felt I had to give him the option.
Now everyone's mad keen on Uncle Joe Stalin and the heroic Red Army. It's the worst possible time to be trying to get a book like Animal Farm published.
We're running out of choices. I didn't tell you. T.S. Eliot wrote to me from Faber and Faber. It's over there in the drawer.
Did you deliberately hide this?
Of course not. Yes. Go on, read it.
We have no conviction that this is the right point of view from which to criticise the political situation at this present time. The bastard.
Cowardly bloody bastard.
You said Jonathan Cape was interested.
Well, so he was. Now he's decided to turn us down after consulting an important official.
What important official? Where?
Your old place. The Ministry of Information. You know who it is, don't you?
Peter Smollett?
Must be.
Oh.
Head of the Ministry's Russian service. Of course he bloody is. And he's thick with that little Cambridge twerp, Philby, who was in Spain in 37, reporting on the fascist side. And I guarantee you they're both in Stalin's back pocket and on the blower to the NKVD every 5 minutes. Thank God I got out of the BBC, and the place is stuffed with traitors.
Why don't we publish it ourselves?
Well, I've still got a chance with Secker and Warburg. He said it's a risk, but he hasn't said no.
Who hasn't?
Warburg. He's already been accused of being a Trotskyite because he publishes the kind of stuff that pro-Soviets don't like. I really believe it's worth hanging on here to find out what happens. Oh, listen. Last week, I met a chap at the Dickens conference they invited me to. His name is David Astor, screamingly rich fireside socialist, loves my work, as it turns out, and I said I wanted to get away somewhere, and he suggested an island, Jura, about 30 miles long, north of Islay, off the west coast of Scotland.
Golly.
What?
I was thinking of Northumberland. Oh, darling, surely. Somewhere easy and close to the A1.
We don't have to do anything about it now. Let's get you back up to Newcastle as soon as we can for the operation. Astor went on about the spiritual quality of isolation. I think he's right. And we'd be safe. We could see people coming.
Who?
Assassins.
Oh, Eric.
Just don't worry about it for now. Let's get you well.
For God's sake. Don't look like that when we go to the adoption agency.
Like what?
Mad as a March hare.
I just got a telegram. Delivery chap was post.
He's asleep. Look at his sweet little cheeks. Rosy little apples.
Those tiny prawn fingers wrapped around yours.
Let's leave him to sleep. So, who sent us a telegram?
It's all right. It's from Astor.
What about that Scottish island again?
No, he wants me to go to France for the Observer to cover post-liberation events in Paris.
1945. The year of our baby. Richard's year. Our baby.
What a year. Germany defeated. Animal Farm ready for publication.
Has Warburg given you a date?
Well, there's a paper shortage. He doesn't reckon it could be printed before August. So. Tummy?
Yes.
Not long now till the op, is it?
March.
March? I'll be away in Paris by then.
That's fine. I feel perfectly safe now we're back up here. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to love him.
Why?
No, don't worry. I want to give you a compliment, actually. Now we've got Richard, and he's such a delightful and vulnerable little mite. You have made me feel really very safe, Eric.
Have I?
I can see the love in your eyes. I've seen what's supposed to take place when one has a child of one's own, when the whole world turns on its axis and it's no longer about you. It's about the little babe.
Yes.
I saw that in you, and I know for certain that you love Richard and me very much indeed.
I've never asked you to forgive me for my dead sperm. I'm sorry I didn't find out sooner. There are many things I've known I ought to atone for, but I'm not as big as you. I find it difficult to apologise.
I don't need an apology. I was very scared in Spain, then in Morocco, and I took it out on you. It was my fault. I didn't realise what I was getting into. You might be ridiculous, but you are very brave, too.
You'll be careful in hospital, won't you?
It's not going to be up to me, is it? And I'm not worried. They do so many hysterectomies and that sort of thing at Fernwood House. I'm sure it's like a conveyor belt. And Jesmond is cosy. It's a bit like this, actually.
Not as blooming isolated. Will you write to me when you're there, please? Will you?
Eric, are you in here? Are you alone?
Yes, quite alone.
Baby Richard is with your sister. Shall I put the light on?
Oh, please don't. I was looking for my old war comics earlier on. Couldn't find them. Typhoon, Hotspur, How to Disassemble a Sten Gun in Total Darkness. Perhaps Eileen threw them out. Perhaps perhaps they perished in the Abbey Road flat.
Are you sure you're right, Eric? Shall I stay? Would you prefer to be left alone?
I'm not going to lunge at you, don't worry. I need you to understand something about us.
Us?
Listen. I have always found you very attractive, and once the shock of all this passes, I'm sure I will do again.
Do you think this is really the right...
There is no God. There is no purpose.
You've got your little boy.
How is he?
He's asleep. I said your sister's sitting with him. You're really going to live on that island, Jura? Such an isolated location with such a little baby.
Yes. Because apparently I'm going to be famous now.
Animal Farm has been well reviewed. It seems that your time has come. Oh, I love your work, Eric.
There's talk of it being published in America.
That's marvelous.
I'm told I'm a favourite with the American Office of Strategic Services. They're going to be called the Central Intelligence Agency.
Oh.
Apparently I'm their big anti-communist. I've given the intelligence services here a list of all the people I think might be pro-Stalin so they can keep an eye on them. Apparently they're very pleased with me.
Oh, I'm sure Eileen would have been very proud.
Well, I think she would have been perplexed, as indeed am I. Now I have to get on with 1984 before Stalin or my lungs kill me.
You've got plenty of time left.
Just about enough for one more big book.
Don't be silly.
I'm a lonely man, Lydia.
I know, Eric. Especially now.
She was the only living thing I could bear constantly beside me.
Oh, Eric. Is there anything you need me to do? Anything practical?
Read the letter she wrote before they took her into surgery, would you?
I'll have to put the light on.
No, you can't. I've turned the electricity off at the box. I don't want light. There's a short stick of candle on the corner of the desk. Yeah.
Dearest, I'm just going to have an operation. Already animate, injected with morphine in the right arm, which is a nuisance. Cleaned and packed up like a precious image in cotton wool and bandages. When it's over, I'll add a note to this, and it can go off quickly. Judging by my fellow patients, it will be a short note. This is a nice room. Ground floor, so one can see the garden. Not much in it except daffodils, but a nice little lawn. My bed isn't next to the window, but it faces the right way. I can also see the fire and the clock.
It stops, but there's no punctuation, so I think she must have gone to sleep for the operation. She knew what was in the garden, but it sounds like she couldn't see it very well. Always found the best in things. In me.
I think I ought to go now. Shall I come back tomorrow? Good night, Eric.
Will you doze in the chair tonight, or go to bed?
Oh, there you are. I've missed you. I know what the book is now.
A warning?
I have to stay alive. Hold off the TB and the assassins. By the way, I've definitely decided to name it after your poem, 1984.
I found that old pile of your comics. They're in the bottom of the small trunk, your school footlocker. They're all there. You could read them in bed.
Thank you.
You should try to sleep.
I'll get into bed soon.
I'll say good night then, darling. Sleep tight, little soldier. The fight is over for another day.
In The Real George Orwell, Loving, Eric Blair was played by Joseph Milson, Eileen Blair by Lindsay Marshall, Georges Kopp by Ewan Bailey, Lydia by Vera Filatova, Dorothy by Isabella Marshall, Inspector Summerfield by Dick Bradnam, and Len by Alan Raglan. The Real George Orwell, Loving, was written by Jonathan Holloway and was a BBC Cymru Wales production, directed by Kate McCall.